In the name of the eternal, compassionate and gracious Elohim, slow to anger, rich in steadfast kindness, extending kindness to the 1,000th generation, forgiving iniquity, transgression, and sin. I bear witness that there is only one eternal Elohim in whom we live, move, and have our being. I bear witness that the Eternal will bring Israel back out of captivity and have compassion on thee, and will again gather thee from all the nations where the Eternal Elohim has scattered thee. Heaven and earth bear witness to the words of my mouth and the meditations of my heart, that there is no Elohim but the Eternal, and that Chief Rabbi Wentworth, Arthur Matthew of blessed memory, the messenger who in 1919 founded Commandment Keepers, Ethiopian Hebrew Congregation of Living God Pillar and Ground of Truth, also known as Commandment Keepers, Ethiopian Hebrew Congregation, Beth Hatiphilah Headquarters, also known by many other names, collectively Commandment Keepers, one entity, not two. On this beautiful day, at the synagogue located at 225 East Kinney Street, Newark, New Jersey, we greet you in the ancient tongue of our ancestors in Hebrew, Shalom Aleichem, peace to you. In the earliest accounts of Israel, ancient history, there were two kingdoms, Israel and Judah. When yet the 12 tribes were warring with each other, we find leaders who proclaim that God is and must remain the sole ruler of the tribes, and that through the government of the Eternal, who is one and everlasting, the unity of the individual and the nation must be found. This only Almighty Elohim and Supreme King has spoken to them at Mount Sinai through the law, and continue to speak to them through priest and prophet. What he said and commanded was gathered up in books, which became the book, the Bible, by which their individual and corporate life was to be guided. Thus arose and developed the religion of Israel, grounded on a book and centered in God. It was not like the Roman religion, the creature of the state, nor was it ever to derive its inspiration from political feeling. For the Israelites, religion itself was to be an independent and positive source of inspiration, and its acceptance, the chief foundation upon which the Israelite state was to rear itself. But surrounding nations surged against them. Conquering empires rose and fell. Israel was taken captive and disappeared from history as a separate whole. Judah fell a prey too to Babylonian, but was restored after Babylon fell to the Medes and Persians. Thus began within Judah a centuries-long struggle for the inviolability of the book. Its laws, precepts, and ordinances had to be interpreted both literally and spiritually. The change in their environment cannot be neglected. Beside the written law, there had to be formed first the divine commandments to Moshe onward, an unwritten law which lawgiver and prophet sought to engrave on the hearts of the people. The written and unwritten must cooperate in the guidance of the Israelite people struggling against the enrolling civilization of Greece and Rome, the unwritten being the dynamic factor of change and the written being the abiding fundamental factor. It is a custom among Israelites to read a weekly portion from the Bible or Torah. In the tradition of Rabbi Zechariah Halevi ibn Abraham of blessed memory, I would like to begin Torah service Lech Lecha by saying these words. I rejoiced when they said to me, let us go into the house of the Eternal. Our feet now stand within thy gates. Parashah Lech Lecha is the third weekly Torah portion in the annual Israelite cycle of Torah reading. It constitutes Genesis chapter 12, verse 1 through chapter 17, verse 27, from pages 45 to page 60 from the Pentateuch and Haftorahs. Lech Lecha, which means go or leave. In Lech Lecha, God speaks to Abram, commanding him, go from your land, from your birthplace, and from your father's house, to the land which I showed you. There, Elohim says, he will be made into a great nation. Abram and his wife Sarai, accompanied by his nephew Lot, journeyed to the land of Canaan, where Abram builds an altar and continues to spread the message of a one God. A famine forces the first Israelites to depart from Egypt, where beautiful Sarai is taken to Pharaoh's palace. Abram escapes death because they presented themselves as brother and sister. A plague prevents the Egyptian king from touching her and convinces him to return her to Abram and to compensate the brother revealed as husband with gold, silver, and cattle. Back in the land of Canaan, Lot separates from Abram and settles in the evil city of Sodom, where he falls captive when the mighty armies of Kedorlaomer and his 3 allies conquer the 5 cities of Sodom Valley. Abram sets out with a small band to rescue his nephew, defeats the 4 kings, and is blessed by Melchizedek, the king of Salem, Jerusalem. Elohim seals the covenant between the parts with Abram, in which the exile and persecution of the people of Israel is foretold, and the Holy Land is bequeathed to them as their eternal heritage. Still, childless 10 years after their arrival in the land, Sarai tells Abram to marry her maidservant Hagar. Hagar conceives, becomes insolent toward her mistress, and then flees when Sarai treats her harshly. An angel convinces her to return and tells her that her son will father a populous nation. Ishmael is born in Abram's 86th year. 13 years later, Elohim changes Abram's name to Abraham, father of multitudes, and Sarai's name to Sarah, princess, and promises that a son will be born to them from this child, whom they shall call Yitzchak, will laugh. This will stem the great nation with which God will establish his special bond. Abraham is commanded to circumcise himself and his descendants as a sign of the covenant between me and you. This parashah concludes with the eternal commanding Abraham to circumcise himself and his offspring throughout the generation as a sign of the covenant made between them. I am Rabbi Dawid Yaakov Halevi from Commandment Keepers. We welcome you to come and visit Commandment Keepers in Newark, New Jersey at 225 East Kenny Street every Saturday at 9:30 a.m. Shalom, shalom, shalom.